Grand Portage Resources' Herbert Gold Project in southeast Alaska highlights increased gold resource, indicated and inferred, of 860,000 ounces, in excess of 10 grams per ton gold. Expansion drilling is planned on the Herbert Gold property for the summer of 2019. Grand Portage Resources trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sean Brodrick, senior editor at WeissRatings.com. Welcome back to the show, Sean.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Sean, the markets, again, over the past couple of weeks, record highs in the S&P and the Dow. Seems it wants to go higher, and then it has a drop. Is this a confusing time for investors?
Well, yes, but I think the one thing that you have to realize is that central banks around the world are going to ease from here to infinity. Now, that doesn't mean that the market has to go higher, but it just makes it much easier for it to go higher. So, until you learn otherwise, pullbacks can be bought. I know that that on the day you and I are talking, we saw the European Central Bank signal that it was going to cut rates in the future, and the market initially went up on that and then went down. And so that may indicate that we're in a period of short-term pullback where just things have been pumped up so much that we have to see some of the air come out. And so maybe we'll see a pullback for a while. Also, on that news, we saw the U.S. dollar rally and go through overhead resistance, and that's weighing on the price of gold. I think what people should be doing is look at the longer-term trend that has already been established, and that is that we are seeing the U.S. Central Bank cut its own rates, and so that will undercut support for the U.S. dollar. That in turn should push gold higher. So I think people on this pullback in the precious metals should be picking the gold and silver miners that they want to buy next, and be ready to make their move. And the next time they bottom, it's time to pile in.
With gold, are you looking at bullion, at gold stocks, at junior miners? Is there any particular sector? I
own plenty of gold bullion myself, but really the way you want to play this is with miners. As the rally goes on, we'll want to do explorers and developers, that kind of thing. But the reason is because miners are leveraged to the underlying metal. So if it's say $1,200 gold, they make $100 per ounce in profit per ounce. And then the price of gold goes up to $1,300, their profit margin has doubled. And that didn't happen to gold. So I think that's the way you play it. We have positions in Supercycle Investor that are very nicely. The same for Wealth Supercycle. We're adding more on pullbacks. And so, I am practicing what I preach. I think this is the path forward, because one thing we have seen is that we've seen globally, the economies aren't bad, but they aren't good. For example, globally speaking, car sales are really slumping and like stuff like that. So we're probably going to look at lower economic growth for the rest of the year, and that's an environment in which global central banks will competitively cut rates. And as they do that, precious metals will shine, because, the one thing people often hold against precious metals is, well, they don't pay interest, Well, you know what? When you're working in a zero interest rate environment, when you're even working in real negative rate environment, bonds aren't doing that great either. So I think we'll see precious metals shine probably for the rest of the year.
What about palladium and platinum?
Well, palladium is really seen as something you have because of cars, right? Because it's used in catalytic converters, and yet one car company after another around the world is reporting lower car sales. The price of palladium has held up nicely, but I wouldn't count on that, especially after the big move that it had from June through July. So I'd expect for a correction in palladium. That said, I'm not playing that market, so you can just take that as idle speculation.
In the car market, Tesla reported a bigger loss than expected, over $400 million. Are they able to recover from that kind of loss? They say we're going to pick up in the new year because that's when our plant in China opens.
Yeah, well, they always seem to find more fools to buy their stock, so I don't want to bet against Tesla. That said, they're run by proven liars. And I'm not speaking about Elon Musk in particular, though he has said things which have been proven false down the road. So, whatever you take from that company, take it in the data. Don't take it in what management is saying. Don't take the guidance that the management is giving you. Only take it from the data. Once the data improves, maybe you want to buy it. Maybe you think that, they have the next best thing, and so things will go higher. But I can think of other places where I'd rather invest my money right now.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Sean, if gold is going to be brighter in the future, is silver, its nearby buddy, going to do the same?
Yes, and I have a nice article on EdelsonInstitute.com, which ran on the 25th of July, and I had another one that ran on the 18th, with a lot of charts on silver, and people should look at them. The most recent article had a chart of the gold-silver index. That is how many ounces of silver it takes to buy an ounce of gold. And that recently peaked. And the reason that's important is because if history is a guide, that's what we normally see before big rallies in both silver and gold. It's just that when the bull market really starts, which is probably happening right now, silver tends to outperform gold on a percentage basis. And so I expect gold to go higher. I expect silver to go even higher, even faster. And so that's the way we'll be playing it in my publications.
Now, in British Columbia, they've approved a new gold-silver mine in Vanderhoof. Is that encouraging news? Because up until then, I heard that production facilities for gold and silver were in decline.
Well, that is always the problem. I think that if prices can go higher and stay sticky higher for the rest of the year, there's a lot of marginal projects that might be getting a second look, because that's the thing that's really been holding back development of new mines. You can point at, environmental concerns or else local opposition, that kind of thing. But if it's not worth people's time and trouble to actually develop a mine, then they aren't going to get into all the trouble and all the sweat to actually make it work. But if it is worth their while, then they'll do it. So we need higher prices for longer, and you'll see a lot of marginal projects come back on. And that's when that space gets really exciting. There are a lot of explorers and developers that get pounded down into the dirt. And if it looks like things are really going to improve for them, if the price of gold gets to a point where that project makes a lot of sense, you could see those prices of those particular stocks really lift off the launch pad.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after the break.
Cypress Development Corp is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Sean, is crude oil going to pick up, stay the same? What's your outlook?
Well, we've seen, Saudi Arabia leading OPEC into really putting a lid on production. So there's that. However, we are seeing kind of a flattening in global demand. That is, it's not increasing at the same pace that it was before. So what's that tell you? That tells you that unless there's a real drop in supply, we are probably going to have kind of a cap on prices. Probably up around 60 is going to be the upper range. That said, more like 65. So 60 to 65, that's where you'll probably see a cap on prices, in the shorter term. Now, I'm talking about West Texas Intermediate here. I'm not talking about Brent. That's a different animal. But that's the one that I like. Brent, their price cap is between 70 and 75. And, so, on the other hand, there are companies that can make plenty of money, at those prices. They can do very well. And Canadian companies, by the way, exports to the U.S. are rising. The oil exports to the U.S. are rising. New pipelines are coming online. And so I think there's some names in the Canadian space that people should be looking at, especially those that pay those sweet, sweet dividends. They're ones that I'm adding to my portfolios, and I think other people should be doing the same.
Yes, I'm just looking at Suncorp, which is big in the oil sands, record high production, 800,000 barrels a day in the second quarter. So things are booming there. Yeah. Suncorp's a nice stock. I don't currently have it in the portfolio, and also it's having a hard day for a number of reasons. Here's the thing. Alberta pretty much imposed limits on how much those companies could produce. And as much as they complain and cry about it, it's actually been great for most of the companies involved because lower production means higher prices, means they're not rushing to drain themselves at lower prices. So I think if we see more cooperation like that, right now many of the Canadian oil companies are hopeful on a deal for the Alberta government to boost production because there are more pipelines going to the U.S. So they say, look, we can actually, move more of this oil out. And so we'll see what happens. But actually, the more of a production limit, at least for me, the better many of these companies look. Bitcoin, is it picking up or is it a risky bid right now?
Oh, Bitcoin. Let me tell you. It was looking really great into earlier July, and it got all the way up to 13,000, and now it's back under 10,000. What a wild roller coaster of a speculation. I don't really call it an investment, though I know people who buy Bitcoin and they plan to hold it forever, and it'll probably be on that hard drive of theirs right up until when their grandchildren throw it out not knowing that there's Bitcoin on it, So, I work with people who believe in Bitcoin strongly, and if you want to give it credit, which you should, it's becoming more and more accepted in transactions by large companies. So that's in its favor. On the other hand, the problem with Bitcoin or any of these currencies is you can always create more of it. And so that was supposed to be the limiting factor, but that's not actually true. And so they will create more of it, and it is a really speculative investment. That said, people have made a lot of money in the past. They could make money in the future. So it's It's not an area where I want to invest, but I can see why people invest in it.
Some people have floated the idea that Bitcoin could be considered a safe haven like gold if the markets have a downturn or a collapse.
I suppose you could look at it that way. But if the markets really collapse, are people going to want Bitcoin, or are they going to want something more substantial? That's the way I look at it. There are things that I put my faith in. They tend to be nice and shiny, and they have a nice metal ring to them.
The marijuana space, is it still high speculation and risky, or are things calming down?
Oh, it's still high speculation, still risky, and it's still in a downtrend that started back in March. Now, my subscribers have taken gains recently. Wealth Supercycle just took some cannabis gains yesterday. Marijuana Millionaire Portfolio took some gains on Monday. That said, the entire sector is under pressure. And this is happening even though we are seeing more investment by big companies. For example, Imperial Brands just announced that it's going to take a 20% stake in Oxley for $123 million. That's Canadian, but you get the picture. So it's not the only one. Large companies that know their business are investing in these cannabis companies, and they think they're doing it at a significant discount to what they will get for it later. So I think that the pullback in marijuana is temporary, and I think there are some excellent buying opportunities right now. I'm trying to guide my subscribers to them. So I'm not afraid of the space. You just have to be very careful, and you have to have a tolerance for pain in the short term.
Sean, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I enjoyed this immensely.
My guest has been Sean Brodrick, senior editor at WeissRatings.com, and you're also the senior editor for who else?
Well, let's see. I have a couple publications. I have Marijuana Millionaire Portfolio. I have a free e-zine site called Wealth Wave. There's a hyphen in between wealth and wave, so you can look for that. That's also branded as the EdelsenInstitute.com. I have a monthly newsletter called Wealth Supercycle, which is really concerned with high-paying dividends, stuff like that. So I have a bunch of publications, but people should come to the WeissRatings.com website and check it all out. Some of the best free information you can get on the web is on that site.
Sean, thanks again.
Thank you.
If you have any questions for Sean or any of our guests, you can send them to info@HowStreet.com. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.